the most interesting story of the two disciples of Jesus traveling from Jerusalem to Emmaus. If you follow the readings of the daily Mass, you may remember we had the same gospel a week ago on a weekday. That makes me think, is the gospel on a Sunday more important than the gospel on a weekday? Maybe liturgically more important, but in reality, in essence, no. Every time we listen to the gospel, it is very special. Whether it is Monday or Sunday, no difference. The Word of God, every day, very important and very special. In the same way, is a weekend congregation more important than a weekday congregation? Or at this moment, people, those who are watching over the webcam, certain days we have more people online than we have here. The same. Whether you are online or here, what matters is whether we are with the Lord in reality, in the heart. The same applies to Holy Communion too. Those who are over the webcam, they may be housebound through illness or whatever circumstances they are in, but they will have a communion by desire. So you and me, we are here, and if we don't have the desire, we won't have any communion. But those who are over the webcam, they have the desire. I can't go to Mass this evening, but here I am, joining online. Lord, would you come to me? And the Lord will go to them. These are the truths of our faith, our relationship with the God. Now to the second part of my homily. These two disciples traveling in the wrong direction. Who are these two disciples? If you remember the Gospel of St. John, you will know who this Cleopas is. St. John says, Mary, wife of Cleopas, was standing at the foot of the cross. So it is almost clear, Cleopas and his wife, they are on the way to Emmaus from Jerusalem. Why are they leaving Jerusalem? The story they narrate makes it very clear. Jerusalem was the place of their dreams and hopes. All their praise, all their life, it was around the temple in Jerusalem. All the prophecies they believed in, all about Jerusalem. Their future in Jerusalem. And they're praying for this day of liberation from the Romans. A new David will come and we will be free once again. A glorious nation will come into existence, they believed. And when Jesus came, they were sure this must be the Messiah. Wonderful teachings, amazing miracles. What more do we need? He will throw the Romans into the sea and will be a glorious nation again. Those were the dreams and the hopes. But then, tragically, everything came to a sorrowful end, a tragic end. This Jesus who could do miracles, wonderful, that he was captured tortured, flogged, and crucified, and he died a very agonizing death. Mary, wife of Clopas, was standing there. She was a witness. Jesus died in agony, and she was there. And then some kind of stories from some women. Once a tragedy happens, then you are not open to any good news. Because the tragedy is so real and raw, it hits you so hard. Your loved one has died, and then you are not ready for any good news. Because this tragedy is real. It hits you so bad, so deeply, and you are mourning and crying because you could see it was the end. He died. He was buried. We were there. So no other story is appealing to them. They have no time even to listen to this kind of rumors. There were rumors that he has come back to life. No. We were there the other day. He died. He was buried. And there comes Jesus to walk with them. Remember this, every resurrection story is a story of God's mercy. Here is a Lord. In every story, the Lord goes after the lost ones. Goes after the disciples, goes after Peter. Oh, he goes after the lost ones. He goes with them. And what happens? Once we understand this gospel, you will have a different perspective on life, or the challenges of life, or the tragedies. You will have a different perspective on everything happening in your life. Here are these two disciples. Cleopas is the one who is telling the story. What happened? He tells them Jesus was our hope, our dream. But everything came to a tragic end. Here Jesus makes them tell their story, to articulate their pain and sorrow and their frustration and disillusionment. That is prayer. Articulate in any language what you go through before God. Even to your friends, tell, share your story, share your agony, your frustration, your disillusion. Share everything with God and with your loved ones. Then what happens? This is very important. Once they have told the story, Jesus tells them another story, a bigger story, a greater truth. The story of the disciple, these two disciples, it is true, it was true and real. All these things happened. They were true. But their story ended in death, in tragedy. But Jesus tells them a story which ends in glory and victory. Jesus, from the very beginning to the end, the whole Old Testament, he goes through the prophets and everything he goes through and tells them, wasn't it about the Messiah you were waiting for? So the one you were pinning all your hopes on, the dreams on, that Jesus, wasn't he meant to fulfill all those prophecies? Don't you know about the suffering servant? The suffering servant in Isaiah? Oh, you know them by, don't you? Wasn't it about Jesus, the Messiah, the one who you had all your hopes on? So this here, the Jesus, They don't know this is Jesus. And he explains everything to these two disciples. And their eyes are opened, but not completely. Again, very important point there. But they sensed one thing. Here is somebody who can give a sense to our misery. Here is somebody who can give me another story which will give a meaning to my miserable story. Here is somebody who can give me sense to my story. All the tangled tales of our complicated lives. Our complicated lives and the tangled stories of our complicated lives. And here is somebody who makes me realize our stories are intertwined with his story. Note this. The full story is revealed only at the very end. These two realized we can't let him go. Here is somebody who can tell me everything about life. So they told this stranger, it's evening, come and stay with us. We want to listen to you. You have got more to share with us, so we won't let you go. They pressed him, they forced him to stay with them, and he went along with them. Drag him in, force him in. He will make as if to go on. No force on anyone's life. The Lord will keep on moving, keep on, but you have to drag him in. Come on, would you come and stay with us? There comes the revelation, the Eucharist. At the breaking of the bread, love that conquers death. At the breaking of the bread, love that conquers death, they realize. They get the full revelation. But by that time, the Lord had disappeared into their soul. The Lord had disappeared into their very soul. And they returned to Jerusalem full of joy, back to where they started. All their sadness gone, all their frustration gone, because they have found the full meaning of everything about life and everything about their future. To close, what is the message here? When you have a story in your life, whether it's one of tragedies or suffering or misery, whatever be the story you have, everybody is bound to have some kind of sadness in life, frustration in life, some sickness or death or some kind of tragedy in life. You have that narrative very clearly in your mind. Nothing wrong with it. Tell that story as many times as you would like. But remind yourself, there is somebody beside me telling me a bigger story, a different story, a story that will make sense to my story. So every time you feel lonely, frustrated, you feel life has no joy, there's all misery, keep your ears open. There's somebody standing beside you to tell you your story has got another story. Everybody's story has got another story. So don't give up. Once you listen to the other story and a bigger story, you will go back to Jerusalem. Keep on coming to the Eucharist. Whatever tragedies you have faced in life, never give up. Because in the Eucharist, you are told again and again, love conquers death. God's love is everlasting.